Flight boss, bitch. You know, for sure. You're now listening to the Mind of an Terry's Moon. I'm the Archangel Uriel, and I'm here to carry out God duties and motherfucking responsibilities. And this video right here is to let everybody know what they're actually doing when they're celebrating holidays. Holy days, holy stars. Now, for the most part, we know what a day is. A day is the calculation of a star. So how we calculate one day based upon the realm of reality we are in right now, we're calculating the distance and the travel with this star, the sun. So for the most part, this is how we correlate days. So when you get holidays, this is giving you the concept that we're kind of participating in a certain energetic influence during that period of time. Now, here's the thing. I told you, I don't care if it's an indoctrination or religion or whatever. In all civilizations, I don't care, Egyptian, whatever, all civilizations is just another version of star worship. And when we discover another star, we end up developing new information, new knowledge, and we bring that technology down here for us to portray that in the third dimension. So this is what you need to understand. So when we start to talk about each holiday is just a ceremony. And a ceremony is a celebration. And what are you celebrating? You're celebrating the influences of that energy that we're traveling through during that period of time. And when we're traveling through 12 houses, each house has a different influence. Now, each house created stars out of that house, aka star constellations. And with these star constellations, these lights, they play out as bodies of water, fire, information, light, and when we receive it, we get influenced by those characteristics, and we play that out down here. So this is what you need to understand, right? Because here's where religious people get lost also, and then they get into arguments saying, oh, well, we're not pagan, but we're just doing this for the sake of, they're lost also. Just, and their demon gonna get them. Y'all demon gonna get y'all. But look, this is what I need y'all to understand. All we're doing is celebrating constellations. So let me make an example right now, right? We just left us going through the period of the 8th house, which is the Scorpio season, right? So for the most part, think about all the influences. So our celebration of going through that influence, we give it a holiday, a holy day. So Halloween is supposed to sum up the influence of that astral travel. Now, for the most part, when we think about things behind closed doors, when we think of the dead, when we think of creating our ego and masking ourselves so our hidden agendas or alternative motives don't be seen, here's where we play dress up. Here's where we portray the dead and gone, those who passed on. Here's where we portray gooses and goblins. Here's where we understand Pluto, the death, the transformation, and we act these things out. And what sums that whole energy of that 30-degree spectrum is that holy day that we celebrate. Holidays is another word for holy day. We got a lot of holy days. Don't get lost into just worshiping one star, because that star gets selfish and that spirit is in that Lucifer. So for the most part, that demonic star make you think that you're only supposed to worship it, and then it make you think that you're not even worshiping a star. So you turn Starman into A-Man, and now you think the sun is Jesus. That's a whole nother video. Now we're getting into let's say right now we're in the Sagittarius season. We're going through the 9th house period of the sky right now. See what I'm saying? We're going through, this is the 9th house period of the sky right here. So we're traveling through here. So experiencing all the influences of Jupiterian influences and Ophiuchus and serpents and sextants and snake and draconian energy and Sagittarian energy, mutable fire. So what does this actually mean? When you look at Sagittarius, it's the motherfucking half man, half animal. So for the most part, this is dealing with or the snake that you see on the health things. So this is us creating circumstances on how to rise above lower animalistic natures, whether we're coming up with new medicines when we are down in our sickness, or whether we're coming up with higher mentalities and feelings and emotions about the down and depressing times that we are experiencing. Either or, us killing the lower animalistic, keyword animalistic natures like the zodiac. Us killing the lower animalistic natures is how we develop wisdom and rise above certain circumstances. So this is why we're all experiencing this period of time, and it's participating in fall and things of that nature, or the last energy of fall. So when that get manipulated and played out, we got a holiday for this period of time also, which we call Thanksgiving. So for the most part, what do we do on Thanksgiving, right? We kill animals. We celebrate eating in some way, shape, or form. So this is another representation of killing an animal or holding it up on an altar. And when they used to do this way back in the Babylonian days and things of that nature, y'all don't know what they was quite doing. But when they was trying to kill certain natures, the animals that we have manifested based upon the shapes and forms we was previously in, and if you was in a human body after the fact, then you would look at certain animals as walking examples of a nature that you have been lost in. And for the most part, when you give this on an altar and kill it and shed that blood and give that to the light, which I was calling the sun or whatever, the things of that nature, right? That blood is a more dense version of everything is this material. Light is this lighter in weight. That's what you need to understand. But for the most part, when you give that energy, it's almost like they had the concepts of thinking that this is our way of giving offerings to show some extra spiritual external God that we're killing our lower animalistic natures. And here's how we do it physically down here in some way, shape, or form. And we're willing to eat it. Same way like you're killing Adam or you're killing your son. It's really a form of killing a mentality. So that's where they got it from and things of that nature. And they was willing to sacrifice the pain of something that's lower for the sake of something that's higher. You see what I'm saying? So don't get lost into concepts and things of that nature, because y'all spirits truly do not know what y'all be doing in this motherfucker. So keep that in mind. Also, hold on one second. Yeah, I had to make sure I had enough time. So, yeah. So you just need to know that holiday is a holy day. And holy days are stars. So for the most part, when we are worshiping stars, we give it a day that we can all participate and celebrate that ceremony. So a ceremony, what does a ceremony consist of? Rituals and spells. Now, don't get spooked out, because even your Bible is doing rituals and spells on your ass, that demon told you. But don't get spooked out. This is what we're doing as spirits. And you might get spooked out by what another spirit gave meanings or reasonings behind the terms rituals and spells. But this is what you need to do anyway to manifest anything in your goddamn life. Don't get spooked out by the word manifest. Otherwise, you wouldn't be a spirit in a body here in the first place. Don't get lost into your own creativity. We are the creators, not the creation. Don't get it fucked up. Now, when we talk about us going into the next month, right? The 10th house, that energy, that is the energy of us experiencing the first forms of death now. You see what I'm saying? After Sheol, we're experiencing death, because the 10th house represents wintertime. So that is the manifestation of the physical ramification of what hell is or death is and things of that nature, or Abraham's bosom, or whatever the fuck y'all want to call it. But for the most part, it's us experiencing wintertime. The 10th house, the 0 degrees of Capricorn brings us into that energy. So that first 30 spectrum of the house, it's like a transition. So once it gets to almost the 30 degrees, around like 25 degrees, this would be like what y'all want to call, and it's not even necessarily 25 degrees, but it going through this transit, right? This is how we experience the sun dying. Well, we call the sun dying, but it's really the sun going beneath the star that we are, or Gaia, Tiamat, or whatever you want to call it, a body of water. That's what stars are. When that body of water rotate and revolve under us, so we start to see it under us, that chakra is further away from our star, our chakra. So there's not going to be no heat, aka spring, winter time. There's going to be more distance, more coldness, more separation. So here's where we experience what we call death, or the falling of things, in order for things to transform. And then once it rise again, in order for it to reproduce into us going into spring again, here's where we start to get the concept of people starting to say, well, Jesus was born, Jesus died on the 25th, and Jesus was really born around April or sometime. These people are confused that this is the concept of the sun being exalted in the first house. The first house is when we're going through March 20th something to April 20th something. So that brings springtime. So that would be the birth. So us going through that vibration, here's where we celebrate the holy day, aka holiday, Easter. You see what I'm saying? The birth. But when we start to talk about the death, this is going through the winter time. So here's where religious people get confused, because they're too busy listening to Paul and Peter. You see what I'm talking about? Now, us going through the motherfucking 10th house, or us experiencing the time between motherfucking December 20th to January 20th, that's us going through the 10th house. As soon as we get in the 10th house, December 25th, that's like 5 degrees us in the 10th house, or Capricorn. So to worship, or the holiday, or the holy day, to experience the sun going through the 10th house, we come up with Christmas. See what I'm saying? And the sun goes through the Crux constellation. And the Crux constellation, the stars make a cross in the sky. So we can see the sun go down into that, and then 3 days later, it goes up. This is why I don't understand how people who be in apologetics and things of that nature, and they claim they into astronomy, don't even understand this aspect. And I'm an astrologer, and I understand this. You see what I'm saying? So how you into astronomy, or you into any form of philosophy, and you still get lost? I really don't understand that. But for the most part, like I said, this is how we come up with the holy day, aka the holiday Christmas. We're worshiping, aka coming up with a ceremony of rituals and spells that's cleaned on the influences that we receive from the Capricorn constellation. You see what I'm saying? When we get into the Aries constellation, that's when we experience Easter. See what I'm saying? Like, I don't understand where we getting lost. Where we getting lost? Where we getting lost? So, every house has a star constellation, and throughout these influences, we know which star constellations is more powerful than the other because we correlate a holiday or a holy day or a ceremony around the influences of these constellations. And whatever lost, indoctrinated idea or concept or ceremony we come up with or religion we come up with, these are representations of being lost. I don't care if you're a religious person or pagan, whatever. These are just different versions of being lost because you got men and women that are in power down here, and the spirits that's in their body are coming up with ideas and ceremonies on how they're picking up these influences. And if they rule a large percentage around, like governments and shit like that, if they rule a large percentage of land at the particular time, then of course everybody who live in that land and government and law is going to correlate the ideas or the influences we picking up the same way that these people in power pick it up. So I don't care if you religious or you don't like the Pope or whatever like that. Whatever idea is on your mind, you following whatever you think you hating. Let me repeat, you're following whatever you think you're hating. I don't care how deep you are in your whatever Bible you think you're talking about. You need to know whatever you're following is the same thing you're hating. You're just lost. But now look, check this out. Like I said, it's all forms of star worship in some way, shape, or form. You have a bunch of religious people trying to say, well, zeitgeist and things of that nature, trying to say that Christianity is pagan. No, you need to know that, no, zeitgeist and pagan, that's star worship too. Yours is star worship too. All of it is star, all of it. Egyptian, Osiris, all of it. All of it is all of it. God damn it. So this is what you need to know. You need to know how to use this shit as your bitch and not get took over by this shit because you ain't got no power and you give your power to it. Once you give your power to it, you got all kinds of ideas and thought forms and indoctrination on what is and what ain't. Once you start to utilize this shit for your bitch, you start to utilize it and start to understand, like, oh, motherfucker, I see what the fuck, why I was lost and why we all lost in this world. See what I'm saying? Don't get it fucked up. Now, when we start to talk about holidays, holy days, we're worshiping stars, and a certain day is a certain fixed star, and that fixed star that's within that constellation, if that star more powerful than the other stars, then that degree, that specific degree right there, we would put the holiday, the holy day, the ceremony of the whole energy of that constellation on that one star, the solar plexus of that constellation. You see what I'm saying? And then for the most part, we'll just go out throughout the influences until we go into another spectrum, another house, another constellation. And then whatever influences and testimonies and experiences we have been going through with eons and eons under those transits and testimonies, then we develop ceremonies and rituals to remind us of what we actually experienced during that period of time. So don't ever get it fucked up when we start to talk about holidays. This is constellation worship. And every month the sun is traveling through a new constellation. So we're experiencing a new influence on a spiritual, mentally, emotionally, and physical level. On a physical level, we see it as seasons. On an emotional level, we feel it as influences. You see what I'm saying? On a mental level, we kind of see the things taking place and transform it. On a spiritual level, we understand that these are things that we are swimming in. And these are just different forms of lights and different forms of energies that we are manipulating and creating. So for the most part, a lot of times as a spirit, we get lost into the mind, body. And as a soul, you end up thinking your soul is a part of these things. Which your soul is nothing more, nothing less but an individual spirit. So when you separate yourself from an overall spirit and become having your own viewpoint, being your own space, now you are space within space. So you are an individual space, an individual spirit, which is a soul. Where is the word solo come from? Because now you are on your solo journey. Then you start to create frequency vibrations, which slightly but shortly manifest into energies. Because a frequency would be like the essence. The vibration would be like the material. And the energy would be like the physicality. So everything that you be seeing in this external world is physical. But if it's lighter, aka light as in weight, lighter in frequency, then for the most part, it'll play out as atoms or light forms. So when you're creating thoughts and feelings and emotions, these are atoms. And if it's a group of us as spirits creating a whole bunch of frequency, vibrations, energies right next to each other, then guess what we created? A goddamn universe. So don't get lost into scientists and make them start making you think that it's a such thing as multiverse and here multiverse and fine tuning and shit like that. That don't motherfucking makes sense. A universe is just a whole bunch of verses united. You don't need nothing more than a goddamn universe. Because you your own verse, I'm my own verse. And if we sitting here sharing verses because I'm a verse and you a verse, and if we're united in this verse, that's what creates a universe. Once we start talking about multiverse and all kind of other kind of shit, you get lost off of one basis of something. I goddamn told y'all. So yeah, it's a multitude of verses. But don't get lost into the scientist's way of looking at it. It's only a universe because it's a multitude of, it's multiverses unified. Otherwise, we'll all be separate in our own verse. So when you go into your own world, your own transverse, you in your own verse. But when you relate it with someone else's verse, y'all create verses with each other, psalms with each other, then for the most part, y'all are united with y'all verses. So here's how we came up with the term universe in the first place. Don't get lost. Flight boss, bitch, goddamn air.